All right, ladies and gentlemen, I know that you were given an oath downstairs, but there's a different oath that you take once you've been selected for a jury. So if everyone could raise their right hand, please. Do each of you solemnly swear or affirm in the case of the state of Texas versus Jeremy ROTHENAY, you will a true verdict render according to the law and the evidence, so help you God? All right, you can lower your hand. And again, if at any time anyone needs a break, just raise your hand. Either the state will see you, the defense, or the deputy, or Brenna, okay? It's hard for me to see because I have these two screens. And I want to remind each of you that you may see people coming in and out of the back doors, handing me paperwork or talking to me about some other thing. That's on a case that's completely different from this case. Does everyone understand? All right, state.
True bill of indictment. In the name and by authority of the state of Texas, the grand jury of Bexar County.
Just one moment. Mr. ROTHENAY, could you stand, please?
Thank you, Judge. State of Texas, duly organized and paneled and sworn as such at the March term AD 2019 of the 437th Judicial District Court of said county in said court at said term, do present in and to said court that in the county and state aforesaid and interior to the presentment of this indictment, on or about the 28th day of July 2018, Jeremy Ray ROTHENAY, hereinafter referred to as defendant, did intentionally and knowingly engage in sexual contact with Angelina Stroud, a female child younger than 17 years, by touching part of the genitals of Angelina Stroud with the intent to arouse or gratify the sexual desire of any person against the peace and dignity of the state, signed foreman of the grand jury.
All right, Mr. ROTHENAY, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
Not guilty.
All right, state.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today, you're going to hear from Angelina Stroud, a young lady who's been waiting 4 long years for the defendant, Jeremy ROTHENAY, to be held accountable for his actions. As Angie, as she goes by sometimes, is going to speak before you today, she's now a young lady of 14 years. She's in 8th grade. Like other young teenagers, she loves hanging out with her friends. She loves her dogs. She likes YouTube. In the summer of 2018, she was just 11 years old. She just finished 5th grade in elementary school. Her mom, Christina Bigler, who you're going to hear from, had been dating the defendant, Jeremy ROTHENAY, for several months, and they were living together at 9723 Quiet Lake. Now, Angelina had a normal, this is my mom's boyfriend relationship with Jeremy in the several months leading up to July 28, 2018. She didn't really have any strong feelings about him one way or the other. He'd watch them sometimes, drive them around when her mom was at work, take them to the pool. But lately, Jeremy had started showing her more attention, wanting her to hold his hand while they're in the car, saying things like, "You can sleep in the bed with me, and your mom can sleep on the floor." But on July 28, 2018, he took it even farther than that. On that date, Christina went out with her sister and her friend for about an hour while Jeremy watched Angelina, her brother Elijah, her little sister Aaliyah was staying at their Nana's house. And they were watching videos on Angelina's tablet. Now, as a single mother of 3, Christina was appreciative that she found someone that was supportive of her being a single mom, helpful with her family. Little did she know that Jeremy was about to take advantage of that. Because on this night, while they were watching videos on Angelina's tablet, Jeremy started touching her. Inside her leggings. And then he takes his hand, puts it on the outside of her clothing over her vagina and starts rubbing it. And she will be very clear, he rubbed her vagina. This was no mistake. This was no accident. He rubbed her vagina. And what went on for a couple minutes felt like a very long time in the mind of a frightened little girl. So she calls out for her brother, asking if he wants to play a game. They've been downstairs in the master bedroom where Jeremy slept with her mom, Christina. She goes upstairs, starts texting her mom about what's happening. She knew that what defendant was doing was not okay, and she did the right thing. Now then you're going to hear from Christina Bigler, who when she saw her daughter's text messages rushed home, ready to kick the defendant's behind. She saw how upset Angie was and how shaken up she was. They called the police. Then you're going to hear from Detective Stokely, the detective who worked at the case. And you're going to hear about the investigation. You're also going to hear from Eric Monta, who's a forensic interviewer who spoke with Angie. And after hearing all the evidence in the case, we're going to ask that you do the right thing and find the defendant guilty of indecency with child by contact, and let him know that what he did to Angelina was wrong, and it is not okay. Thank you.
Defense.
I reserve.
All right, thank you. State, call your first witness.
State calls Angelina Strong.
You'll take a seat here, please. Can you raise your right hand for me? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, you can lower your hand, and if you could make sure that you speak up.
Yes, we approach.
Yes.
Good morning, Angelina.
Good morning.
Would you mind removing your mask so we can see your face? Would you look down? Thank you. How are you doing today?
Good.
How old are you now, Angelina?
14.
And when is your birthday?
June 3rd.
What grade are you in now?
8.
Where do you go to school?
Functional.
Are you nervous?
Yeah.
Well, if there's anything you need from us, just let us know. What do you like to do for fun?
Hang out with friends.
Yeah. What do you like to do with your friends?
Go skating.
Do you have any pets?
3.
Can you tell us about your pets?
The chameleon. 2 dogs. They're both lab mixed.
What are their names?
Lola and Bella.
What's the chameleon's name?
Chino. Named after a singer.
Do you like to watch YouTube?
Sometimes.
What do you like to watch?
Usually current videos.
Who do you live with now?
My nana, my mom.
Do you live with your siblings? Can you tell us who your siblings are?
Aaliyah and Felicia.
How old are Aaliyah and Elijah?
Not 10, 13.
You guys live here in St. Julian? Does your dad live with you?
No.
When did he and your mom split up?
Maybe 6 years ago, 7 years ago.
So a long time ago. Now, Ashley, do you know why you're here today, right?
Yes.
I'm going to talk to you about the summer of 2018. Where were you living at that time?
Quietly.
Is that in San Antonio, in Bexar County, Texas?
Yes.
Okay, I'm showing you what's in Martha State's Exhibit 1. Is that the house you're living in?
Yes.
So at this time, we'd offer State's Exhibit 1 to evidence and permission to publish the jury.
I have no objection. I've already.
All right, State's Exhibit number 1 is admitted without objection.
And in the summer of 2018, who were you living with?
JR, my mom, my siblings, and my mom's roommate.
And when you say JR, does he go by another name?
Johnny.
Do you know his last name offhand? And what grade were you in at that time?
Leaving 4th grade.
And how old were you in July of 2018?
11.
You're gonna be approached again?
Yes.
I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 2 and number 3. Can you tell me how old you were in those photos? Okay. In this first photo, State's Exhibit 2, who's that in the photo with you?
Johnny.
Jack Sparrow?
Yeah.
Where was that photo taken?
Shooters Village.
And in State's Exhibit 3, who's that in the photos? Your siblings? Permission to publish to the jury, Your Honor?
No objection.
All right, State's Exhibit number 2 and 3 are admitted without objection.
So during that summer, were you home from school or were you in camp or just off for the summer?
Just home.
And who was your mom dating at the time?
JR.
And how long had she been dating him?
2 months. 3 months.
And had she had any other boyfriends before JR since her and you got broke up?
One.
And what was your relationship like with JR leading up to July 28th, 2018?
All right. He would just like take care of me and my siblings at the house.
Did he ever take you places?
Yeah.
Where did he take you?
All over the place.
What sort of things did y'all do?
Just like he lived with us for a month, so
Did he ever discipline you, or did you ever get in trouble with him, or was that more something your mom handled?
mostly my mom.
Now leading up to July 28th, 2018, had you been acting like he always had towards you, or did he start acting different?
When
Leading up to the date we're here about, July 28th, had he been acting normal, or did he start acting different? Okay, did you notice any changes in his behavior prior to
No,
the incident that we're here about? Okay. Was he affectionate with you or non-affectionate?
not affectionate.
Did you guys, now, not getting into what specifically happened on July 28, 2018, but did he ever have physical contact with you at all? Touch you, hug you? Hold your hand?
Maybe hug me, yeah.
Did he say anything around this time that was different or started to make him uncomfortable?
No,
When did things start to change?
Judge, I'm gonna object to leaving.
Judge,
That'll be overruled.
you may answer the question. When did things start to change?
one night, it was just a normal night. I think I just finished drawing and I wanted JR to come see them. And he came into my room and I showed them to him. And then he turned around and locked the door and said, like, let's hang out on the bed. I guess. And on the bed, I don't know exactly what we were talking about, but he had his hand on the side of my rib cage, just like going up and down.
Okay, and are you talking about July 28th, or are you talking about prior to that?
Prior to that, the first time.
About how long before the incident we're here on did this happen?
Probably a week before, week and a half.
So did anything else happen?
Yeah, as he was doing that, my shirt was like coming up. So he was touching my skin and he did touch my nipple.
After this incident, was there anything else that he said or did that was out of the ordinary before July 28th, 2018?
No, but that time he left whenever I think my mom was asking why the door was locked. And that was it. I don't think he really said anything else.
Now, when you would drive around in the car with him, would you sit in the front or would you sit in the back seat?
He would tell me to sit in the front
And,
and hold his hand.
okay. And is this something he always did, or was this something that have changed?
Not normally, like I didn't understand why he wanted to hold my hand.
And the other incident you talked about where he was touching you, he said something about the bed. Did he say anything else about the bed or just that?
That night, he said that he wanted me to lay down and hang out in the bed.
And this new behavior that he was exhibiting, how did it make you feel?
I just didn't know why. I was uncomfortable.
Now let's talk about July 28th, 2018. If you can remember, what did you even do in that day?
Went to the pool.
And who'd you go to the pool with?
My nana and my siblings in jail.
What did you do at the pool?
Swim and Dad was there.
Did you spend time with JR at the pool?
Yeah. While there, he was sitting against the pool, like in the pool, and he grabbed me to sit on his lap.
And was this during the day? Was it at night?
Probably towards the night, yeah,
How did that make you feel when you did that?
uncomfortable.
Why did you guys leave the pool?
I think it was closing and getting late. There was also a tournament pool.
Did you go anywhere else?
To my neighbor's apartment after, and JR went home to shower and come back and pick me and Elijah up.
And what did you guys do after that?
We went to the gas station, and in line, that's when Jeremy told me to hang out in the bed whenever we get home.
What did you say?
I just said, like, can the dogs come? And he said, yeah, or something like that.
So what happened after you went to the gas station?
Went home, and I was on the bed with Jeremy, just sitting up with my iPad.
Now, let me ask you, where was the bed?
Master bedroom in the house.
Can I make first again?
Yes.
And this is the house you're living in?
Yeah.
So where was the master bedroom?
Whenever you walk through the door and go straight back and then turn right before the stairs,
And who normally stayed in that room?
JR, mom,
And where did, who else was living in the house?
Katie,
And who's Katie?
mom's room.
And had she been living with you guys the whole time, or did she just move in, or?
I think she just moved in. She just moved in with us.
And, did your siblings live there as well?
Yeah,
Where were y'all's rooms at?
upstairs.
So you were hanging out downstairs in the bedroom with JR.
Yes.
And what were you guys doing?
I was watching YouTube on my iPad. My brother was in and out of the room. While I was watching videos on the iPad, JR touched my vagina. But it's hanging behind the iPad.
We back up just a little bit. How old was Elijah at the time?
9.
Okay, so he's even younger than you. And you and JR or Jeremy, you guys were in the bed. How big was the bed?
Queen bed.
And do you remember how you guys were positioned?
Yeah, I was like not in the middle, but sitting up. And he was on my laying down, he was on my left side.
And you were watching YouTube. Do you remember specifically what you're watching?
It was there's something funny. Oh, no.
Do you remember what you were wearing that day?
I was wearing black leggings. I don't know what shirt.
And can you describe for the jury just how you were sitting?
I was sitting straight up with my legs. Like
You can demonstrate if that's easier for you.
this.
And you said JR was right next to you? And what happened while you were touching, or while you were watching YouTube?
JR was touching me.
Can you describe for the jury how he was touching you, how he started touching you?
He was rubbing my vagina.
When you say rubbing your vagina, and I know this is very uncomfortable, but was it in or outside of the clothes?
Outside.
And can you describe how he was rubbing your vagina?
like circular.
And how long did he rub your vagina for?
Probably 2 minutes before I got up.
And how did you feel when he started rubbing your vagina?
Scared, I wanted to get up.
Did you see anything while this was going on?
Just I mean, I was looking at my iPad.
Did it seem like this could have been some sort of accident or mistake?
No, he obviously wasn't supposed to be doing
Did he touch you anyplace else at this time?
it. Yeah, his hand, he put his hand inside of like the side of my leggings.
And what did he do there?
Just had his hand.
And was he saying anything to you while he was doing this to you?
No,
Did you say anything to him?
no.
What did you do?
I just sat there. I left and texted my mom in the restroom.
Was your brother around you at all?
Yes. He wasn't around earlier whenever we were watching videos on the iPad.
And what about when you left the room? Did you say anything to him?
Whenever I got up, I think I said I was gonna go play charades with Elijah. And I guess she also kind of mad whenever I got up. It's kind of like, it was like,
Did Elijah seem to know what was going on?
no, whenever I came out of the bathroom after texting my mom, I told my brother, like, let's go upstairs. And we went into my sister's room and waited for everybody, well, for my mom to come home.
Your Honor, may I approach again?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 3, 4, and 5. Are those the text messages you sent your mom, letting her know what was going on?
Yes.
You didn't have the 3. Oh, you are? Sorry. 4, 5, and 6 make that. And these are an exact copy, photocopy of the text messages you sent your mom. And was your mom the first person you told about what happened?
Yes.
After you texted your mom, what happened?
Me and Elijah were up in the bedroom, and Kayla, my aunt, my mom, and Katie, her friends, came over and told JR to get out. I was up in my sister's room still, with my brother. And my aunt Kayla came in and told me that he's leaving.
When you said your brother didn't understand what was going on, did he know that Jeremy wasn't?
Judge, I'm gonna object to speculation unless she say, did he know? I think that'd be a question for the brother.
That'll be sustained.
When you were upset and went upstairs, did your brother try to get anyone to help you?
Yes, he was asking me what was going on. I just told him that Jared was touching me, not to get him.
After your mom got home, and they kicked JR out, did anyone else come to your house?
No, but my mom said that she did.
Judge, I'm gonna object to hearsay.
Sustained.
Did the police come to your house that night or no?
Yes,
Do you remember talking to the police?
yeah,
And do you remember being interviewed by a man in a small room about what happened? And Angelina, have you reviewed anything before testifying today? Have you reviewed prior statements or a video or anything like that?
no,
So what you're testifying about is your memory. Angelina, I'm gonna ask you to do one other thing. The person that touched you, can you take a look around and let me know if you see him anywhere in the courtroom today?
I didn't.
Could you please point him out by an article of clothing that he's wearing?
White, but not.
Your Honor, may the record reflect that she's identified the defendant. I'll pass the witness at this time.
Judge, when we approach,
Yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this point, I'm going to give you a brief recess. And so we'll be back at 10:05. You've heard some testimony in this case. You're not allowed to discuss anything that you've heard amongst yourself or with anyone else. I will let you know when it's time for you to deliberate. Does everyone understand? All right, everyone, please rise for the jurors. All right, everyone, please be seated. All right, defense, you want to take the witness on board?
yes. Angela, my name is Robert Mauer. I'm going to ask you some questions. If you don't understand, if I speak too quickly, just let me know, okay? When was the last time you met with a representative from the DA's office prior to testifying here today?
Yesterday, empty.
Okay, and what about before that?
I don't know what it's called for.
I'm sorry, but can you take your mask off? We can't hear you.
I don't know what it was called. But yes, I went to talk to that person.
Which person?
The one in the room.
Okay. They're talking about originally when this happened, right? Is it okay? So recently, the last time you had any contact with anybody from the DA's office was yesterday? And prior to that, how long ago was it?
Probably 4 years.
Okay.
Was that?
So when you met with you met with the two ladies sitting at this table? Is that correct?
And ladies and
Okay. And this new allegation about being in the bedroom and Mr. ROTHENAY touching your nipple. Did you mention that to them at the time you met with them
Yes,
yesterday?
yes,
Are you sure?
yeah, I'm sure.
Judge, I passed the witness, but I would like to make argument.
Any follow-ups, Dave?
When you made the statement, did you say he grazed you, or like it was just real brief? Do you remember?
Yeah, I said that I was wearing that Captain America shirt.
Other questions?
All right, any follow-up questions, defense?
No, Judge.
All right, and I'm assuming there's argument
Yes,
afterwards. All right, if I, just one moment. If you could step outside for a moment, please. Remember, you're under oath. You're not allowed to discuss your testimony today with anyone except for parties from the state and from the defense. Do you understand? Just a moment. All right, the court will hear Mr. Mauer.
So, Judge, I think this is a clear violation of both a discovery and extraneous conduct notice. The witness testified that she gave full and complete statements about this incident to both the prosecutors and the advocate yesterday. No notice was provided to me at all. This new allegation is something that was not a part of any of the discovery we received.
And which allegation?
The allegation, the first allegation where she's talking about being in a bedroom with the defendant and the defendant touching her nipple. Though I think she said the incident was a week before. So that was not part of any discovery. There was no notice on any of this. It's not contained in any of the statements. And if in fact she made that statement to the DA's office yesterday, they had a duty to provide it to me as soon as possible. They could have let me know this morning prior to the witness testifying, but none of that was done. Clearly, it's improper, it's unfair surprise, and it violates my client's due process rights. And also, I believe it violates the Morton Act. I'd ask the court grant a mistrial, and I think that's the appropriate sanction on a case like this. In a case where clearly there's been an abuse of the discovery process.
All right, state.
Judge, it was an oversight. In the forensic interview, she talked about, and I previously watched it another time where the defendant touched her, or been touching her. So it was a mistake on our part. We'd ask that you not grant a mistrial, that you just advise the jury to disregard the statement if you can.
Judge, if I can respond, the child statement, both on the body camera video at the scene and the forensic interview, when it talks about touching, it just talks about generic, like touching my leg or things like that. This is an entirely different specific allegation of sexual contact that was not contained in any of the discovery, not part of either one of the noted or outcry statements that the state provided me with, either the one they intend to introduce or the other one from Detective Mata. And if in fact that conversation took place yesterday, they had a duty to give it to me today so I could prepare for cross-examination on this case. I was here all day until 3 o'clock. My office is across the plaza. I think both prosecutors have my cell phone and my email. So I think it would have been very simple for them to contact me. And I think this is trial by ambush. And I'd ask the court to grant a mistrial.
All right, the court is going to take that under advisement. We will be back at 10:05 and I'll give you my ruling. So if anyone needs to take a break, now's the time to
I'm gonna
take
get
a
more
break.
coffee.
Sure. All right. What the court is going to do in the court's ruling with regards to defense's request, the motion for mistrial will be denied. The court is going to instruct the jury to wholly disregard any statements made by the complainant with regards to the touching of the breast or the nipple.
Judge, at this point in time, if the court's going to deny my motion for continuance, I'm going to have to question her about inconsistent statements. So I would object to the court's denial of the mistrial. But at this point in time, the only way I can try to cure this error, protect my client's due process rights, is by questioning her about that incident. So I'm gonna have to ask the court to waive that ruling. I'm gonna have to talk about it myself.
All right, so are you asking the court not to give a jury instruction?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And Brenda, just so the record is clear, defense counsel is asking the court not to give the jurors an instruction to disregard any mention of the touching of the breast or nipple. All right, let's have the witness come back in and then we'll bring the jury in. All right, all rise.
All right.
All right, everyone, please be seated. All right, you're still under oath. Defense.
Angela, like I said, my name is Robert Maurer. I'm gonna ask you some questions, and if you don't understand or I need to rephrase it or slow down, just let me know, okay? So your mom dated Jeremy ROTHENAY, or JR as you call him, for a brief period of time back in 2018, correct? And how long had he lived in your mom's house, I guess, prior to this incident happening?
How long did he?
Yeah, did he live there a month? Was it 2 months that he had?
He lived there a month.
Month, okay. And so Ms. Hayden had described your relationship with Jeremy as being a typical mom's boyfriend relationship. Is that correct? Would it be fair to say that you and JR did not get along a lot of the time?
No.
Okay. Did you believe you had a good relationship?
Yeah.
No arguments, no squabbles, nothing else like that?
There was like a few arguments between like me and the siblings that he got onto us too, but it never was bad.
Okay, and so your mom worked in the evenings, right?
Yes.
And so in the evenings, when your mom was at work, would JR be responsible for discipline in the house?
I guess so, yeah.
And were there times where you got in trouble or you had your cell phone taken from you or issues like that, where Jeremy would impose discipline and then wait till your mom got home so they could talk about what they were going to do after that?
No,
It never happened?
I don't think so.
Okay. So how many bedrooms in the house?
5,
And your bedroom was on the second floor?
yes.
And where was your grandmother's bedroom?
She didn't live with us.
Your grandmother didn't live with you?
No. Not at the time.
You what?
Not at the time.
Okay. What about your mom's roommate?
Katie? What
Yes.
about her?
No, where was her room?
Right by the master bedroom.
Okay, was that on the first or second floor?
First, right by master bedroom.
So how many rooms were there on the second floor?
3.
So you recall giving a statement or a couple of statements, right, to the police?
Yes.
Okay. One at your house, right?
Yeah.
And another one at a room with a detective, correct? Or you went and gave an interview with somebody, right?
Yes.
Okay. And I want to go back to this this allegation you just brought up about this incident you said happened a week before, right? Do you remember what you just talked about that?
Yes.
Now, you had in fact not even mentioned that incident to either the officer at the scene or the man you gave a statement to prior to yesterday, correct? I mean, you talked to these other 2 people and that incident was never mentioned, correct? The incident where you said he touched your nipple in your room.
I'm pretty sure I said it while I was being interviewed.
Okay, if I could tell you that you did not say it, would you agree with me? Because there's nothing
I
specific.
don't know.
Okay. You went and met with these 2 ladies from the DA's office yesterday, correct?
Yes.
And that's when you first mentioned this incident about Jeremy or JR touching your nipple in your bedroom while the door was locked, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you mentioned that your mom like grabbed the door handle and noticed it was locked and said, "What's going on?" Right, pretty specific about what you said happened.
I said that specifically.
You said Mom was asking why the door was locked.
Yeah.
Okay, so what did you or JR tell her about why the door was locked?
I think JR said he didn't want the kids coming.
Okay, why?
I don't know.
Was
I
it,
don't know why they can't come to my room.
okay, was this on the weekend? What time of day was this?
It was summer.
Okay, but your mom still worked at nights, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she was off that day.
Okay, but you distinctly remember your mom asking why the door was locked?
Yes.
Okay,
And that's when he got up and left. I don't remember like what he exactly said to me.
well, can you see your bedroom door? This all happened, you said on the bed, the incident the week before, you said happened on your bed, right?
Mhm.
Can you see your bedroom door from your bed?
Yes.
Was your mom standing outside the bedroom door?
Yes.
Okay, and she didn't say, "Hey, what's going on? Why are y'all in here by yourselves?"
She said, why is the door locked?
Okay, and did JR say anything?
I think so, yes. Like,
Okay. Are you sure that you mentioned this to somebody prior to talking to the DH yesterday?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Okay.
I probably forgot to add in that my mom was saying something then.
Okay. Well, did you, when you talked to the DAs yesterday, did you mention the part where you just said about your mom was standing there?
No, it's not there.
Because that's pretty significant, right? I mean, if your door's locked and your mom's there, that's pretty important, because it would probably, for most moms, be something that would concern them if their daughter is behind the locked door with her boyfriend, right? And I think most moms at that point in time would probably do something, don't you think?
Yeah.
Your Honor, I'm just object to defense testifying.
I'm just asking a question.
That'll be overruled.
And at that point in time, this week beforehand, did your mom say or do anything to your recollection about finding y'all behind the bedroom door with the door locked?
No. No, I don't know where you're getting.
No, I'm just asking if she did anything. You're saying that you told us that you were behind the bedroom door with Jeremy and the door was locked, and your mom said, "What's going on?"
I guess she suspected nothing of it if she didn't say anything.
Okay.
She trusted him.
So you recall giving us the statement at the scene and also in the interview room, right?
Excuse me?
You recall giving two different statements, right? You gave one to an officer at this who came to your house, and you gave another one down at this interview room, right? Is that
He
correct?
wasn't an officer, I don't think.
At your house originally?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now, do you remember giving that statement? Okay. Did you ever write out a statement at all about what you said happened?
No.
What about when you did this interview? Did you ever write a statement out with them?
No, I think whenever I went to the police and got interviewed, we made a few drawings,
Okay.
but
Of what?
I didn't make a statement of
Drawings.
where jail touched me.
Okay. Is this when you met with Mr. Mata?
I don't know his name.
Okay. Did we approach?
Yes.
So when you talked to the officer who came to the scene, you never mentioned anything about this incident the week before, the one you said happened behind the bedroom door, right?
No,
Okay.
I think I told him that was the first time.
The one, the 28th.
No,
You think what was the first time?
I don't remember.
Okay. So I know it's been a long time since this alleged incident happened. Have you and your mom talked about this case prior to you coming to testify?
We haven't talked about the whole case, like what happened.
Okay. What did you talk about?
How it made me uncomfortable.
Okay. Did you talk about the first incident you just mentioned, the bedroom incident, and him touching your nipple?
Mhm. No,
Okay. So the first, if it's not in your statement to either the officer who came to your house or with Mr. Mata, you didn't tell your mom about it either. So the first time you mentioned it to anybody was yesterday at the DA's office, correct?
no, I'm sure I told my mom
Okay.
whenever. Okay, the day that the cops came, I'm pretty sure I told my mom.
Right, okay, so you told your mom prior to the detective getting there? Right, she came home, you told your mom about what happened, and you said you mentioned the incident the week before. Did you hear the question?
No,
Okay, so when you recall the night that your mom called the police, right? And they came to your house,
yeah,
and you and your mom were on the front porch with the police officer, right?
mhm,
Remember that?
yeah, before the cops came to the door, I was sitting with my mom, my aunt and my brother. I'm pretty sure I told her everything then.
And you think at that point in time, you told her about the incident the week before with him touching your nipple?
Yeah,
So your mom would work in the evenings, right? She was is she a waitress or a bartender?
yeah. She would like work in the mornings and afternoons sometimes.
Okay. So would it be fair to say that she wasn't at home? I'm sorry, there were quite a few days that she was not at the house.
Yeah,
Okay. And in the evenings, while she was working, would you and your brother and your sister be left at home with JR? For the
Yeah.
period he lived there? Is that correct?
sometimes we would go to my neighbors.
Okay. Your Nana is your grandmother?
Yeah.
So let's go back to the incident on the night of July 28th. You said you were in JR's room with your brother, correct?
My brother wasn't there the whole time.
Okay. For what period of time was he there?
I don't know. He was in there like a few times watching a video with me.
Okay, well, hadn't you told the police that that y'all had gone in there, y'all were gonna watch a movie together?
Yeah, that's at the gas station. He said go in there and watch a movie with him. We'll take go in there, hang out with him, or watch a movie. And whenever we were there, we weren't watching a movie. I was on my iPad. I don't know what my brother was doing.
Okay, but he wasn't there from time to time, right?
Yeah.
And you said when the incident happened where you were saying JR touched your vagina outside your clothes, that Elijah was in the room when that happened. That's what you said originally to the police.
Yeah.
And you said, that's when you asked him to go play charades, right?
No, he was asking me to play charades.
Okay. Did you go play charades with him?
No.
Okay, but you left the room, right? And that's when you texted your mom,
Yes.
correct? So you said that you talked to Elijah and he asked you what was going on and you told him that JR had been touching you, right? And did he say when? Did you just say right now? Just when we were in the room? Did you mention about what had just happened?
I don't know exactly when I told him, but after I came out the restroom, JR was in the backyard. What I remember was my brother sitting down on the couch. I came out crying, saying like, no, my brother asked me what was wrong. He said, he asked me what was wrong, and I told him like not to get JR, and let's go upstairs and wait for my mom.
But Elijah knew what had happened because you had told him about it.
You're making it seem like it's that simple.
Okay, tell me how it was.
Like, I don't remember telling him. That's all I can say. I don't remember telling Elijah.
And if you need it, let me know if you need a break. I mean, I understand this is difficult for you, but I need to be as specific, as possible. Because when the state was asking you questions, you had mentioned that your brother had asked you what was going on, and you had told him that JR was touching you. That's what you said, right?
Yeah.
And that was right after that incident that happened in the bedroom that you're saying happened, right?
After I came out the restroom.
Okay. I mean, this is like right after this happened, right? Had you already texted your mom?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you go to the bathroom, you text your mom, your brother's standing there, and he asks why you're upset, and you say because JR had been touching you, correct?
I'm just gonna object to asked and answered.
Oh, that'll be overruled.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And did you tell your mom that you had told Elijah about what had happened?
I like tell her straight up he knew, but he was right by us, so I'm pretty sure she knew that he knew.
Okay. So your mom knew that he was aware of what was going on.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the incidents that you said took place in the car, right? Where would JR take you in the car?
Mostly my neighbors.
Okay, but you weren't by yourself, right? You would be with your brother and your sister, correct? Okay, so when did you always ride in the front seat?
Me and siblings would argue over it. Only Elijah would argue over it.
Okay,
But I wasn't always in front.
okay, but you're saying the times that you were in the front seat, he would hold your hand.
Yeah, he would ask me to listen.
Did you ever get to know JR's daughter?
Yeah,
Okay, do you remember her name?
no.
Jaden, right? Do you remember Jaden? Right?
Yeah.
Okay, and there were times she would come and stay with y'all as well, right?
Yeah, he used to sit with us like 3 times.
Okay. And what was your relationship like with Jaden?
She was, I used to like a friend.
Did you and Jaden ever argue about anything, or did you have any issues about Jaden and her dad being in the house?
I remember being like a little bossy, but
Or,
like
okay,
thinking she's a little annoying.
okay. She was a couple years older than you, though, right?
Yeah.
How long had your mom and dad been separated when JR moved in there?
A long time.
And would you agree with me, it was probably a little bit easier and more relaxing just having your mom there as opposed to having JR or a man in the house.
Yeah.
Okay. And with your mom working a lot, were you and your brother and sister at home by yourself a lot? Or did you go to your nana's, or how did you all take care of yourself while your mom was working?
Probably watching TV, going to the park.
Okay, so y'all kind of got to have the run of the house, right? Well, if your mom was at work, okay, how long had your mom's roommate been there in the house before JR moved in?
I'm not sure.
Had it been like a long time, maybe a couple weeks? Do you recall?
Oh, yeah. I remember her living with us for a while, but I don't know how long before he did.
Okay. But would it be fair to say she probably wasn't really worried about rules or anything else like that, right? She was working as well, wasn't she?
Yeah.
She worked with your mom? She kind of worked the same hours?
Yes.
Okay. So would it be fair to say that when JR moved in the house, it kind of changed how you and your brother and sister were allowed to act in the house and do what you want to do in the house?
No. No.
Okay.
People were there to watch it.
You what?
People were watching us.
Okay. So who would be watching you?
JR, my Nana. my
Okay.
mom,
So would your Nana, before JR moved in, would your Nana come over and take care of you? Or babysit
yeah,
you?
I think. But we had somebody to watch us most of the time.
Okay. So when JR moved in, what happened to people that had been watching you? Did they stop watching you and then it was just JR?
No.
No, what, they kept watching you? They kept saying
Yeah,
people?
everybody else kept watching it.
Okay. So when JR moved in, there was no change in anything. You and your brother and your sister were able to do the same things that you'd done before?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm sorry, go ahead, ma'am.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. And you and JR never got crossways about you getting in fights with your siblings and him taking your phone and things like that?
Yeah, he would get on me about getting in arguments with them, but I don't remember him taking anything.
And you're saying he never took your phone or anything like that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think I even have it. I didn't have one.
And on the night of the 28th of July, when you said this happened, who was in the house besides you and JR and Elijah?
No one.
Okay. Where was Katie? Was she at work?
And my mom and all of them were at the bar.
That be your mom and her friends?
Yeah.
And so you texted your mom and told her to come home because you said this had happened, right?
Yeah.
Did your mom on the incident you said happened on the 28th, the one that you just brought up yesterday? Did your mom ever ask you about it specifically? About what happened and why the door was locked with JR not around?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, would that be, when did that conversation with your mom happen?
Like 4 years ago.
Okay,
Around.
was it after the police were called on this one incident? Was it before the police were called on this one incident? But at the time, on the night of the 28th, you're saying you hadn't told her what had happened, but she knew about the door being locked and y'all being behind closed doors, right? Okay.
questions are like all over the place.
Okay. You want me to try again? Okay, so the police came to your house on the night of the 28th, right?
Judge
Yeah.
asked and answered.
You gotta be overruled.
And you said your mom was aware of what had happened the week before, right? About finding the door locked and y'all behind the door, right?
Yeah,
Okay, but you said you had not told her up to that point about him touching your hip. Is that correct?
no, I told her after cops were there.
Okay, did you tell her, did you tell her after the cops left?
I told her.
Okay, all right, that's a fair answer. When you were watching, you said you had your laptop on your lap. What were you watching YouTube videos on? You said, was it your laptop?
My iPad.
iPad, okay. And you said you had your legs pulled in and you had your iPad like up on your lap like this, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And Elijah was sitting on the bed with y'all, right? Because y'all were gonna watch, originally, the plan was to watch movies in your mom and JR's room because they had the DVD player, right? Or the Blu-ray player.
Oh, that wasn't a plan. It wasn't a plan to watch a movie.
Y'all were gonna watch a movie, that's not why.
We never really picked one or talked about it whenever we got home.
You never told anybody that y'all were gonna watch a movie in the room?
My dad was 7 feet.
All right, I'm just asking, did you ever tell anybody that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know like who I told, but I told them that whenever we're at the gas station, Sarah said something about a movie. But whenever we were home, like the movie was never really discussed. I guess like we kind of forgot about it.
Okay, and I think you had told the police that you like watching your YouTube videos better anyway, right?
Yeah.
And so when at this time you're saying he's rubbing you outside of your clothes, were your knees still pulled in?
Yeah, kind
Okay, but so you're saying that he was rubbing your vagina outside your clothes in a circular motion,
of.
right? But you said your knees were pulled in and your legs were together, correct?
Not like all the way together.
Okay. And Elijah was sitting on the bed while this happened, right?
No, I don't think he was in there. No.
Okay, that's okay. So are you saying that you didn't tell the police that Elijah was sitting there on the bed with you when this happened?
I said that he was in there, but he wasn't there when it happened.
Okay. Did you not tell the police that Elijah was in the room
I said that
when
he
this
was-
happened? Hold on, let me finish and then I'll ask the question and you can answer and she can take this down. Did you not tell the police on the night of July 28th that Elijah was in the room with y'all when this happened, when he
No,
touched you? You
I
never
don't
said that.
recall.
What?
I don't recall.
Okay, so then your answer would not be no, would be you don't remember if you said that or
Sure.
not. Okay, so you could have said that, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I passed the witness.
State.
Just a few more questions, Angie. Has a lot happened in the last 4 years since this incident took place?
Yeah.
Do you remember everything perfectly from 2018?
No.
Do you remember what you ate for breakfast on July 28th, 2018?
No.
Do you remember why you texted your mom that night?
Yeah.
And why was that?
Because Jared was touching me.
And where was he touching you?
My vagina.
And were the police called because he touched your vagina that night, or were they called about some incident prior to that?
Called that night.
Because he was touching your vagina that night.
Yes.
And again, you haven't watched anything, you haven't reviewed anything, you're testifying based on. your-
Judge, I'm gonna object to leading the witness.
Sustained.
He's not.
Judge, I'm gonna object.
I know that some people have never testified before, so once I sustain an objection, that means you're not to answer the question. If you have any confusion over whether or not you're allowed to answer a question or not, just ask me, okay?
Okay.
All right. State.
What are you testifying based on today?
JR sexually assaulting.
Is that based on your memory or is that based on something else?
Based on memory.
I'll pass the witness.
So let's talk about memory, okay? I'm old and my memory gets kind of dim. But would you agree with me that it's easier, like the farther you get away from something happening, the harder it is to remember what happened, right? Like some 4 years ago is not going to be as clear in your mind today as it was a long time ago, right after it happened, right?
Yes.
Because at the time, it had just happened, right? And here we're a long way down the road, and it's hard to remember a lot of things that happened, right? Is that correct? You agree with me?
Yeah.
Okay. So would you agree with me that what you said to the police in 2018 is probably a little bit fresher in your memory than something you're saying today?
Probably, yeah.
Okay. And so the incident the week before, the first time you talked to anybody about it was yesterday to the DA's office, right? Other than you said you talked to your mom afterwards, right?
Judge, this has been asked and answered.
Just a couple more questions. Do you remember how long after the night of the 28th did you tell your mom about the incident the week before?
The 28th, the cops were called, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I told her that night before the cops got there, like pretty much everything. With Kayla and Elijah there.
And you told her about what had actually happened in the room the week before.
I'm pretty sure.
All right, I have no further questions.
State.
No further questions, Angie.
All right, is this witness excused or subject for recall?
I'm fine. I don't need her.
I don't anticipate we'll meet her again.
All right, thank you. You're excused. Thank you for coming in. And you can step down. Yes, you're free to. State, call your next witness.
State calls Detective Stokel.
Just give us a minute, Judge, so I have to get him.
Oh, no problem. All right, if you can raise your right hand for me, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, please have a seat and if you could state your name for the record.
My name's Paul Stoughton.
And if you could spell your last name, please.
Last name is Stoeckle.
State.
I'm sorry.
Usually when I say state,
Okay.
people will say
I didn't hear what you
Texas.
said. I'm trying to function.
That's okay. State, you may proceed.
Good afternoon, Detective Stokel,
Good afternoon.
or good morning, sorry, feels like afternoon. How are you, well, are you currently employed?
No, ma'am.
All right. And what are you doing now?
I'm retired from the San Antonio Police Department,
And how long were you with the San Antonio Police Department?
30 years,
And how long have you been retired?
since October of 2020.
And when you retired from the San Antonio Police Department, what were you doing?
I was working with the Special Victims Unit. My last assignment was registering sex offenders, but before that, I handled cases for sexual offenses.
And how long were you with the Special Victims Unit?
17 years.
And what does the Special Victims Unit do?
Special Victims Unit is a unit of the police department that handles family violence and sexual crimes of nature against adults and children.
And what types of crimes would you handle?
I was specifically assigned to handle sexual assault cases and indecency with child cases.
And what did your duties entail with those types of investigations?
I would receive a case that would be assigned to me by a sergeant, and then I would contact the victims, witnesses, defendants, suspects in the case. And then I would either interview or arrange for an interview to be had for if it was a child victim. Send any physical evidence off to the crime lab to be assessed, and then prepare the case for the district attorney's office. And if the case warranted to be filed.
Now, in July of 2018, did you investigate a case involving defendant Jeremy Rotheny? Okay. Do you remember that case?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you had a chance to review your reports?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a copy of your report?
No, I do not.
Would that be helpful in refreshing your memory?
Yes, ma'am.
Or if I may have just one brief moment.
Yes.
Showing you what's been marked as State Exhibit 7 for identification purposes. Can you tell me what that is?
This is the prosecution guide that I prepared to file the case in the district attorney's office.
And is that a true and accurate copy of your report?
It appears to be. I haven't read the whole thing, obviously, but it looks like it's complete.
Does it appear to have been altered in any way?
No, ma'am, it does not.
Okay. Now, if you need to review that to refresh your memory, I know it's been 4 years, but please don't read directly from it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so what kind of case were you investigating with regard to Jeremy Rotheny?
It was an indecency with a child case.
And did you handle a lot of those types of cases?
Yeah, over my 15 years handling cases with the special victims unit, I have quite a few indecency with child cases. Yes, ma'am.
And how do you usually go about investigating those types of cases?
We usually, because the child is involved, we usually have a forensic interview set up. The interviewer is trained to interview children, and it limits the amount of times that the child will be interviewed. We used to have to interview them several times. Now they only have the one interview with the forensic interviewer. Once I get that information from the forensic interviewer, if there's a valid outcry, any type of touching, in this case, it was an indecency by contact. So if there's any valid outcry of touching, then I proceed with trying to contact the witnesses and suspect in the case.
Now, you mentioned forensic interview. What is the forensic interview? Is that done by the police department? Is it done by an outside agency? Can you explain that to the jury?
Yes, we have there's an agency in San Antonio called ChildSafe, and they have forensic interviewers on staff, and we call them to set up forensic interviewers. The interviewers are not police officers or work with the police department. They work for ChildSafe. They also, if there's outcries of child abuse, whether it be physical or sexual, they also provide services for children and their families.
And why do you guys have child safe conduct these interviews rather than the police department?
Well, when I first started handling cases, we did interviews of children. The problem was the police department interviewed them, CPS interviewed them. They were interviewed several times. The hospital interviewed them. They were interviewed several times about the type of sexual abuse, and it seemed to be harming the children just because they were having to repeat the trauma. So they had the forensic interviewers do one interview, and they have the police department and child protective services there at the interview, so that the child only has to be interviewed one time.
And you mentioned multiple interviews. With these children that are interviews, do their interviews tend to be cookie cutter, the exact same every time they're interviewed?
No, it's based on the child and the experiences that they incurred during their trauma.
In your experience, is it normal for
Judge, I'm gonna object to in your experience as far as relevance. I think it was asked specifics about this case, but if she's gonna refer to other cases, I think that's improper. A lot of questions are asked that she'd be not allowed to ask any questions about other cases.
State.
Judge? He can testify to his experience, what he's seen. He said he worked in SVU for 17 years.
All right, you can ask the question, and the court, once I hear the question, I'll make a ruling on your objection, Mr. Mara.
Thank you.
Judge, I'll move on. You mentioned a valid outcry. What did you mean by that?
Well, a valid outcry would be the child says something in her interview or his interview, depending on the sex of the child, in this case, a female. So in her interview, she made statements that would meet the elements of an offense, of criminal law in the state of Texas.
And after you have someone submit to a forensic interview, you examine the outcry. What other types of things do you do in these investigations?
Well, in an investigation like this, there was no physical evidence to be sent to crime lab, so it's mainly testimonial evidence. Contact the outcry witness, which was the first adult that was talked to or told of the trauma by the child. And then I tried to contact the defendant. I spoke with him several times by phone, but was never able to arrange a time for him to come in.
And you mentioned there's no physical evidence in this case. In a case like this, you're aware of the facts in this case, right? The allegations.
Yes, ma'am.
In your experience, 17 years with SVU, would you expect there to be physical evidence in this type of case?
No, ma'am, not in this type of case.
And why is that?
It's touching over the clothing, and there's usually not any type of DNA or anything that can be removed from the outer clothing that would be specific to sexual trauma.
Okay. So in cases where you're gonna have DNA, physical evidence, what types of cases would those be?
Mostly sexual assaults of a child or adult, where there's physical evidence left on the body.
Okay, when you say sexual assault, what type of contact are you talking about?
Penetration of the sexual organ, or the anus. And there's usually DNA left in those types of situations.
Okay. But that's not what we're talking about with an indecency by contact case.
No, ma'am, that's not what we're talking about.
And so in this type of case, you would expect physical evidence. What about a medical exam?
The medical exams are usually done when we're hoping to recover evidence. It's an intrusive exam, so we don't usually put victims through that unless we have hopes of recovering physical evidence in the case.
Okay, and again, with this type of case, would you expect to have that sort of thing?
No, ma'am, we would not.
So with regard to this case, what all did you do?
I went to Child Safe after I arranged the interview. For the interview, I went to Child Safe, sat down on the interview, or not down on the interview. We sit in a separate room and watch the interview by camera. I watched that interview. Once I got the interview completed, spoke to the outcry witness, which in this case was the child's mother. Got a statement from her, and then I, like I said, I tried to call the suspect several times. Well, I did speak with him several times, but I finally wasn't able to arrange a time where it was convenient for him to come in and give me his side of the story.
And what did you do after that?
I believe I think it was September, well, I can tell you right here. It was September 6th. I typed up the case and filed it with the DA's office without the suspect's defendant's input.
And how many of these types of indecency by contact cases would you say you've handled in your career?
Well, over 15 years, probably at least 100.
So in your experience, was this a pretty typical indecency by contact case?
Judge, I'm going to object to relevance as far as whether it was a pretty typical case. That has no bearing on the facts in this case at all.
That'll be sustained.
I'll pass the witness in this case.
Defendants,
May I approach witness, Judge?
yes.
Do you have your report in front of you?
Yes, sir.
Is this everything that you prepared prior to filing this case?
This is the prosecution guide. Yes, sir.
Okay, what else did you have besides the prosecution guide?
There would be the statement from the outcry witness. Probably the DVD of the interview.
Any handwritten notes?
No.
Okay, you keep a file?
All my notes are right there, sir. They're dated. Like when I called the suspect to try to arrange an interview, I made a notation of it in there. So anything that I did on the case is in there by date.
So this is everything?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you review any of the other work that was done on the case? By other officers?
Other work as in,
Well, so you're aware that the patrol was called on the night of the 28th of July, right?
the morning, yes, sir.
The morning or the night?
Yeah, it was 1:30 in the morning. if I
Okay.
remember right.
All right, I'm old, to me, that's night.
Okay.
So, did you review the body camera footage from the patrol when he came to the scene?
I don't believe we had body camera footage in 2018, sir.
Are you sure? Because I looked at body camera footage.
Yeah, I'm not completely sure, but I
Okay.
don't recall that.
So can we just go on the assumption that you did not review the body camera footage?
Yes, you can go on that assumption.
Okay. And were you aware that the complainant and her mom both gave statements to the patrolman or patrol, there were two patrolmen who came to the house that night, and a civilian ride-along, that the mom and the complainant both gave statements to the patrolman who came to the house? Were you aware of that?
I know they spoke to the patrolman because I read the offense report.
Okay, so you did review the officer's offense report,
Yeah,
correct?
so that's what I get when I'm assigned a case. I get the
Okay.
report.
I just didn't see it in your,
Well, no, there's not a copy here. This is a prosecution act. See if, let me make sure here. Okay, if I can refer to the first note there, July 30th. It says, upon arriving to work, I found this case in my box. I reviewed the offense report. There was no pseudonym form available at the time, so I had to wait for the pseudonym form to even have contact information for the victim.
okay,
So yes, the offense report was reviewed.
the clerkship,
Yes.
do you take a look at that and tell me if that's the offense report you reviewed?
Part of the details down here are kind of fleshed out, and let's skip that. To the next one. Yes, it appears to be a copy of the report.
All right, and when you looked at that, let's see real quick,
Yes, sir.
how thoroughly, I mean, you don't just glance at it, this is an important case, right? So you're gonna be really thorough about all this,
Right,
correct? And you reviewed the details of the report, correct?
yes,
And did you, you said you weren't aware about body camera footage, but did you ask the officer if he had body camera footage?
no, in these cases, I don't usually speak to the patrol officer. I don't work the same shift as this officer, would be a dog watch officer, or early in the morning, I work investigations.
Okay.
At the time, like I said, if we didn't have body camera, it was probably pretty neat, because I wasn't a patrolman when they brought body camera in. I don't know exactly what year it was, but I was not aware of there being body camera.
It was, but that being
That's
said,
perfect. I was not aware of it.
you reviewed the details of the report, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you used that when you were conducting your own investigation, correct?
Yes,
Okay, and when you go down to child safe to watch an interview, the customary practice is you sit in another room and watch the interview, correct?
yes,
But you are able, in fact, to step out of the room with the forensic interviewer and give them questions that can guide your case and your narrative for what you're looking for, right? To decide to determine what happened.
if the interviewer, once the interviewer is done with their portion of the interview, they step out and ask if there's any other questions that need to be asked. Normally, the forensic interviewer covers all the areas, and there's normally not any other questions that need to be asked to the victim.
Okay. And you were aware, were you not, from reading the report, that the victim said her brother was in the room with her when this happened?
Yes,
Okay. Did you ever contact the brother to try to find out what he knew or witnessed about the incident?
no, I did not.
Why not?
If I remember right, I was talking to the mother, the outcry, and she did not want her son to be there.
Okay. So I'm trying to wrap my head around this.
Okay.
So you have somebody who's a potentially witness who can either corroborate or show a statement not true, but you don't want to go, you don't go talk to the witness because the mom doesn't want you to.
Usually we don't talk to child victims or child witnesses without the parents, okay? We don't just go and intercede into a child's life and ask them for a statement.
Okay. But you could have told the mom, hey, this is important. He's a witness. We need to talk to him. And hold on,
Okay.
because he could either not know anything at all,
Right,
right? Or he could be vital and important to your case.
right.
Okay. Did you tell the mom that you needed to talk to him because it was important because he's a witness?
I did speak to the mother that day, and when she gave the outright statement.
Okay. And she said, what, absolutely not?
No, what she told me was that he was in the room. He did not see anything. That's what I remember, that he did not see anything, and she did not want him to be interviewed.
Okay. And so you left it at that.
Left it at that, yes.
Okay. There are means by which you can talk to a child witness if you wanted to, correct? Even against parental consent, you could get a court order to do that, correct?
Possibly, yes, sir.
And I think in the usual practice, you get an order and they appear in front of a juvenile judge. Have you done that before?
No, I have not done that before.
Okay. So if you wanted to, you could have interviewed the boy, right?
Not without the parents' consent. That's the way I was taught, that we ask the parents' consent. If it's a victim or a suspect or a witness, if the parent does not give consent for us to talk to them, then we didn't talk to the juvenile.
But that's not necessarily true because you can get a court order and have them appear in front of a juvenile judge.
That's what you're telling me, sir. I'm just telling you, in my 17 years there, 15 years handling child cases, I never did that.
Okay.
If the parent did not consent to have a child interview, we did not interview.
Okay, so from looking at the officer's report, I guess you'd agree with me, and since you haven't seen the video, I guess you'll have to take me at my word, that the patrolman did not talk to Elijah either. Are you aware of that?
I'm not aware of that, sir. I know that in the report, it says that he spoke to the mom and the victim. I'm assuming that the son was still there. If the son had anything to offer, he may have told the officer that night. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But that's, you're asking me about what happened on the night the patrol officer was there and I was not there.
Okay,
So-
okay, so let's go.
All right,
Let's,
so just 1 second, everyone. Brenda is an excellent court reporter. She can take down 2-3 people at one time, but let's not put her through that. So what we're going to do is question will be asked. Then we'll have a pause. You'll answer the question. Then once you answer the question, then another question will be asked. So I'm going to ask that everybody speak one at a time. Defense.
so you said the boy may have talked to the patrol, right? But you just speculated on that point.
He could have talked to the patrolman. He was there.
Okay,
I was not.
okay. But other than reading the patrolman's report, you never called him or asked him or sent him an email or some sort of communication to see if he talked to the boy, right?
No, I did not.
Okay, and there's nothing in his report to indicate he talked to the boy, right?
No, there is not.
Okay, and you never reviewed the body camera footage to see in fact he had not talked to the boy either, correct?
Sir, I've already told you I was not aware that we had body camera footage in 2018. So no, I did not
Okay,
review any body camera footage.
so when you were observing the child safe interview, who was with you in the other room while you were observing the interview?
I don't remember who the child protective services worker was assigned to the case, but it would have been the CPS worker.
Okay. Did either one of you provide any guidance or any questions to the interviewer throughout the course of the interview?
I don't specifically remember this particular interview. We went to hundreds of these. I don't think we did. I can't speak for the CPS worker, just like I can't speak for the officer that was in the field. I just know that most of the time, these forensic interviewers cover all the details of the case. They come and check with us to see if there's anything additional that we need asked. Normally, there's not.
Okay, so would you agree with me that what's in your, what do you call this? Is this your case summary?
Prosecution guide, sir.
Okay, that what's in your prosecution guide is the sum total of what you determined to have happened on the night of the 28th.
What's in this prosecution guide, sir, is what I did in preparation to send this case forward to the DA's office.
Okay,
Every phone call I made, every person I talked to, is summarized in this office, or in this prosecution guide.
okay. You use the term valid outcry, right?
Yes, sir.
But valid outcry does not mean you're asserting it's true. You're just saying the statement met the elements of the offense.
Yes, sir. That would be a valid outcry if it meets the elements of an offense of the law of the state of Texas, criminal law of the state of Texas.
Okay, so everything that the child, I guess the summary of what the child told both the patrolman and the forensic interviewer would be contained in your prosecution.
I'm sorry, sir. I didn't follow the question.
The summary of, or I guess, a general summary of what the girl told both the patrolman and the forensic interview is contained in your prosecution guide, right?
Yes, sir.
Did you question the girl personally, or just the forensic interviewer did?
Just the forensic interviewer.
Okay, and would you agree with me, there is nothing in your summary or in the patrolman's report or anything else mentioning an incident the week before where the complainant said her nipple was touched by the defendant?
I know I didn't summarize anything like that. I don't recall if that was in the report or not.
Okay, and there's nothing in there indicating that this incident happened and the mom had jiggled the door because the door was locked and said, hey, what's going on there? Nothing in your report about that either, right?
No, sir.
Okay, you need to take a look at it just to check?
My prosecution guide?
Yeah.
No, I didn't have anything in here about a door being jiggled. I can tell you that.
And when you talked to the mom, did she mention anything about, hey, I can, now that I think about it, a week before, they had been behind the door, been in her bedroom and the door was locked. And I was like, hey, what's going on here? Anything like that?
I don't recall that at all, sir.
Okay, well, you met with her and you talked to her when when the mom wrote out a statement, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and would you agree there's nothing like that in the mom's statement?
It does not appear that there was anything addressed in the mom's statement like that.
Okay. I pass it.
State.
Just briefly, what specific allegation of physical contact between the defendant and the victim were you investigating?
The victim told the officer that the suspect, the defendant, touched her vagina over her clothing. Any contact of the sexual organ, whether it be under or over the clothing of a child, is an offense of indecency with a child by contact.
Thank you. No further questions.
Depends.
I have nothing further.
All right, is this witness excused or subject for recall?
I don't need.
We don't need them either.
All right, thank you. You're excused. State, call your next witness.
Judge, I think we need to have her.
Yeah, Judge, we're gonna call Christina Bigler, so we will need to have.
Just one moment.
Yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm going to give you a brief break. If you all could be back at 11:30. Remember, you've heard some evidence in this case, but you're not allowed to discuss it amongst yourselves or deliberate or discuss with anyone else. Does everyone understand? All right, everyone, please rise for the jury.
love to admit it.
All right, everyone, please be seated. All right, call your witness, please.
State College Christina Bigler.
All right, you can raise your right hand for me, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes. All right, please have a seat, and if you could state your name for the record.
My name's Christina Bigler.
Good morning, Christina. How old are you?
I am 34.
And how old is Angelina now?
She's 14.
And did she ever make any statements to you about being sexually abused?
Yes.
When and where were those statements made?
It was in July of 2018. And it was at my home, first through text message, then at my house.
And how old was Angelina at the time?
She was 11.
And what were those statements that she made?
She claimed that Jeremy ROTHENAY had inappropriately touched her while he was watching her and my son at home. I was away from home, and she said that they were watching a video or a movie and that he touched her between her legs.
Where between your legs? Did you touch
Her vagina.
And Angelina's obviously available to testify, is that correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
I'm showing you what's been marked as States Exhibit 4, 5, and 6 for identification purposes. Are those the text messages that you received from Angelina?
Yes, they are.
And how do you know that they're those text messages or a copy of the text messages?
Well, first I remember reading them, and this is a photo of my phone.
And the number that you received them from, that's the phone that you knew her to use?
Yes,
And did she confirm that she sent you those messages?
yes,
Thank you. And to your knowledge, were you the first person that she told about being sexually abused?
yes.
And what was her demeanor like when, obviously you didn't see her when she sent the text messages, but when you saw her in person?
Extremely frightened and upset, scared.
I'll pass the witness.
Any questions with regards to this witness being offered as an outcry?
Yes. So ma'am, when you went back to the house, who were you with?
I was with my sister, and my friend Katie, who had just recently become our roommate, and one of Katie's friends.
Okay, and when the police got there that night, you and your daughter both gave a statement while standing on your front steps, correct?
Yes,
And present at that statement was the officer, a civilian ride along, and another older lady who was there as well, correct?
yes,
Was that your mom?
yes.
Okay. Did she arrive at the house with you, or had she been at the house prior to you coming home?
She came after I got home and after I called the cops, or before the cops got there, but after I called them.
Okay. So she was not there when your daughter made the statement to you?
When my daughter made the statement to me,
Yeah, about what she said when you got home and she told you what had happened. Was your mom there present when your daughter told you this?
no, she was not.
Okay, I don't have any other questions yet.
No further questions for this hearing.
All right, any objections to this witness defense?
Judge, as long as this is the only witness that's going to testify as an outcry, then I don't have any objections.
It's our only outcry witness.
All right, thank you. I gave the jury till 11:30, so if anyone needs to take a break for 5 minutes, now's the time to take that break. And if you would All right, state, it's, the witness has been sworn in, and if you could introduce yourself again, please.
My name is Christina Bigler.
All right, state.
Thank you, Judge. Christina, where are you from?
I was born in Illinois. I grew up all over, mostly in Florida.
When did you move to San Antonio?
Roughly about 8, close to 9 years ago.
And when you moved here, who did you move here with?
I moved with my mom and my kids.
How many kids do you have?
I have 3.
What are their names and current ages?
Angelina is 14, Elijah is 13, and Aaliyah is 10.
What do you do for a living?
I am currently a server bartender.
How long have you been doing that?
Off and on for about 15 years.
Is that what you were doing back in 2018 as well?
Yes.
Do you know the defendant here in this case, Jeremy ROTHENAY?
Yes.
Do you see him here in this courtroom?
Yes.
Can you please point him out to us and identify him by an article of clothing he's wearing?
He's right over there in a white shirt.
The record reflect that the witnesses identified the defendant. How did you meet Jeremy?
I had met him at a pool hall that was right next to my work.
Just move your approach.
Yes.
So Christina, you said you met at a pool house?
A pool hall,
Okay.
yes.
Did you meet randomly? Did you meet through friends? How did you meet?
Through friends. Basically, we would go over there after our work shift, have a drink, and he was always there mingling with people that I knew, and we just started talking at some point.
How long had you known him before you started dating?
That's a little bit hazy, I think, at least a year,
Okay.
if not more.
So you didn't start dating right away after you met?
Yeah.
How long were you dating before he moved in with you, if you recall?
I want to say about 7 months.
And what was your relationship like prior to him moving in?
It was fine. I mean, he was very, I don't know how to put it in words. He was always there. He was always trying to help me out, do things for me to help me out as, a single mother.
So he supported you and was good with, did he spend time with the kids?
Yes,
Did you trust him with the children?
I did, yes.
Had the kids spent much time with him before he moved in, or was it more they didn't spend time with him really until he moved in?
They did spend time with him before he moved in.
And did you feel good about having him move in with you and your children?
Yes, yeah,
Did you
I
have any
felt-
reservations?
I did have reservations just because I didn't feel like a really strong connection to him. But I spent a lot of time like second guessing myself and, telling myself that, maybe I'm just being too picky, maybe I'm just, overthinking. But I didn't really have, like I said, a strong connection with him.
Were your friends and family supportive of your relationship?
Some of them, my family was, some of my friends, but some of my friends and my sister definitely was not. They did not like him.
Okay, but your reservations were more about your connection with him and nothing to do with him and your children.
Right.
So when he moved in, do you remember about when he moved in?
I want to say it was sometime in June, maybe the beginning to mid-June.
2018.
Yes.
And where were you living at that time?
I was living at I forget the house number road. It was on Quiet Lake.
Okay. Was that in San Antonio, Texas?
Yes.
Who was living with you when he moved in? Who all was in the home?
So I was living there with my parents and my kids and my little brother. And my parents and my brother moved out and moved into an apartment and he moved in.
Okay. So it was you, your children, and him?
Yes.
At some point, did a roommate move in?
Yes, she had just moved in maybe a week before the incident.
Okay. How old were your children at the time this occurred in 2018?
So Angelina was 11, Elijah was 10, and I believe Aaliyah was 7.
May I approach you?
Yes.
Can I show you what's already been marked and admitted as State's Exhibit 3?
Are those your children, how they appeared at that time?
Yes.
Okay, can just kind of going across right or left to right, can you point out who's who?
So this is Aaliyah, Elijah, and Angelina.
So these were how your 3 children looked back in 2018.
Yes.
Were you working at the same place you work now, or were you working at a different location back then?
I was working at a different location back then. The particular place that I was working got shut down because of COVID.
And so whenever you were at work or out doing errands, who would watch the kids once Jeremy moved in?
It was usually between him and my mother.
So it wasn't just Jeremy.
Right.
Were at that point in time, he's only been living with you for a month. Was he disciplining the children, or did he leave that to you?
As I recall, I think the majority of the discipline was up to me. I don't really remember him ever disciplining them.
You don't remember, him ever taking away Angie's phone or anything like that as a punishment?
No.
Okay. So on the day in question, July 28th, 2018, what were you doing that day?
So I don't remember if I was working earlier that day, but when I started receiving text messages from Angie, I was out at a bar with my sister and my roommate Katie and one of Katie's best friends.
Okay, and who was watching the children?
So my youngest was with my mom and Angie and Elijah were with Jeremy.
Was it normal for Leah to stay with your mom and not be with Jeremy, or?
It was really normal for them to kind of mix it up. They didn't always stay together, you know. I believe that night she just didn't want to hang out at the house. So she went and stayed with my mom.
Okay, that was not unusual.
No.
So you guys are out drinking, and what happens? Like, what first alerts you that something's wrong?
So it was the text messages,
And text messages from who?
from Angelina.
What, you're on a Maybridge?
Yes.
Showing you what's been marked for identification purposes, state exhibits 4, 5, and 6. Can you please review those or look over those? Do you recognize what's in these photos?
Yes.
What's in these photos?
Text messages telling me to.
Judge, I don't think a proper predicate's been laid.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
All right, that'll be sustained.
Is this a photo, is this a photo of your phone?
Yes,
Does it contain the text messages you're referring to?
yes,
How do you know that these are the text messages that you've received? Do you recognize them?
yes, I recognize them, and it's on my phone
Okay,
under my daughter Angelina's saved number.
okay, so you know from, you know, your prior experiences and the fact that she was an 11-year-old child, that that's coming from the number that Angelina uses.
Yes,
So to your knowledge, has anything been altered about these text messages?
no,
And these appear as they did the night that you received them?
yes,
Your Honor, I'm going to tender these to defense, but we would move to admit exhibits 4, 5, and 6.
I have no objections, actually.
All right, states exhibits 4, 5, and 6 are admitted without objection.
Okay. So these have been admitted now. So I want you, I know this is going to be hard, but I want you to read the text messages to us that you received from Angelina that night.
And keep in mind, Miss Brenna's writing everything down, so don't talk too fast.
okay. It says, "Mom, break up with JR, please. I'm scared. Don't tell him, just break up with him. He's been touching me. I'm scared. Mom, I'm really scared. I don't know what to do. Please." I'm trying to keep it cool. Don't call me, just call 911. Shh. Hold on, I need to go upstairs. Mom, stop. I'm getting nervous. Call 911. Don't call him. I don't want him to hurt me. Stop. Don't call him, Mommy. He'll hurt me. And the last one says, please, please.
So those are the texts you received from Andy that night.
Yes.
What was your reaction upon receiving those texts?
Shock. Fear. I wasn't there, so I didn't know what was going on.
What did you do after you saw those texts?
I dropped what I was doing and I left and went straight home.
Did anybody go with you?
My sister was with me.
Okay, what happened with Katie and your friend?
They also left immediately, but they were following in a different vehicle behind me.
Okay, so you and your sister, and what's your sister's name?
Kayla.
Kayla. So you and Kayla ran out of the bar and drove straight home.
Yes.
About how long did it take you to get there?
Maybe 10 minutes, probably less.
Were you guys doing anything, attempting to contact anyone while driving over there?
I was trying to call Angie. and she wasn't picking up. And that's when I got the text messages telling me to stop calling.
So when you got home, what happened?
I'm walking to the house and I didn't see anybody. I scanned the area, all the doors were open downstairs. So I immediately went upstairs to look for them, and I was yelling their names, Angie, Elijah. And I heard them in one of the bedrooms with the door closed. So I tried to go into the room, and the door was locked. So I asked them, what's going on? I knocked on the door, said, let me in. Once they realized it was me at the door, they my son opened the door.
Okay, so Elijah's the one who opened the door.
Yes.
If you can recall, what was Elijah's demeanor when you opened the door?
I feel like he didn't really know what was going on. I think he was just scared for his sister because she was extremely upset and scared.
So when you walked into the room, when you said Elijah opened the door, where was Angelina when you opened the door?
Angelina was in the corner of the room, by the bed, sitting on the floor.
Okay, what was her demeanor when you saw her?
She was curled up in a ball, like hugging her knees and crying and shaking.
Did you ask her immediately what happened, or what happened after you saw her crouched in that corner?
I asked her immediately.
Okay, what happened?
Yes.
And what did she tell you?
She told me that he had touched her.
Did she
And
tell you where?
not right away. I had to ask her, touched you where? Where did he touch you? And she said, he touched me on my vagina.
Okay. And what else did she tell you about what happened?
In that instance, I didn't really ask her to elaborate any further. So we didn't talk about what happened extensively in that moment. And
Sorry.
go ahead.
So after she tells you that he touched her vagina, what do you do?
So pretty much right after she told me, I heard the door to the back house, or the back door to the house close. And so I told Angelina and Elijah to stay in the bedroom, and I walked out of the bedroom and saw Jeremy coming in through the back door and walking towards our bedroom that was downstairs.
What did you do next?
I confronted him and I asked him what he did to my daughter, and he just stood there and said, I didn't do anything. And I said, don't lie, did you put your hands on my daughter? And he's like, no, I didn't. He just acted like he didn't know what was happening.
And at this point in time, was your sister Kayla in the house?
I believe she was inside of the house by the front door.
And so what happened next? Did you call the police or kick him out? The next step you took?
The next step I took was getting him out of the house. I told him that he needed to leave right away. And he tried to say that no, he wasn't leaving, this was his house, all his stuff was there. And I told him that I didn't care about his stuff, he can have his stuff, but I want him gone right now. And I told him to give me the keys to the house, and he gave them to me. And I told him I'm calling the cops. So either leave right now or talk to the cops when they get here. And he walked out the door.
And then did you then call the police?
Yes.
By the time police arrived, who else was at the house?
All of the girls that originally arrived at the house with me, so my sister, my roommate Katie, her friend, and my mother was there.
Did you call your mom?
Yes.
And so the police come. At what point did you get any more details from Angelina about what happened? Was it that night or was it later?
It was that night.
Okay. And what did she tell you that night?
She told me that they were watching a video and it was her, my son and Jeremy. And she said that while they were watching the video is when he proceeded to just touch her inappropriately on her vagina. And she said that, you know, she freaked out and then she ran upstairs to the room.
Okay. So you were the first adult that she told.
Yes.
Prior to this incident, had you had any concerns about Jeremy and Angie's relationship?
No.
Did they seem to get along, or was it a neutral relationship?
They seemed to get along. But thinking back, I felt like they seemed to get along.
So you never had any indication from her that she wanted you to break up with him or that she hated him or anything like
No.
that? Did you believe Angie when she told you that this happened?
Object, I'm gonna object, I'm gonna object. I think that question is improper, whether she believes or not. That's up for the jury to determine the veracity of the statement.
That would
The
be
fact-
sustained.
Was there ever a time that Angie, that you recall, that Angie was in a locked room with the defendant?
No.
Okay, there was never, that you don't recall ever, do you recall her ever mentioning another incident in which he touched her?
No.
As far as you knew, this was the only time you
Yes.
ever touched her? Okay. And in prepping for, you know, coming to court, was there, are you testifying from your memory or did you review a prior statement or anything?
From memory.
Okay, so you reviewed nothing before coming here.
No.
Okay. And did you ever disclose to the state any other time that Angelina said that she'd been touched?
No.
And then we've met to discuss the case before, correct?
Yes.
Have we met in person, over the phone, or both?
In person and on the phone, yes.
When did we meet over the phone?
I had spoken with Marina several times throughout the past couple years since the incident.
Is Marina our advocate?
Yes.
Okay. And then did you meet with me and Michelle in person?
No. Yes, in person 2 days ago.
Okay. And did we speak briefly over Zoom yesterday?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna pass the witness, Your Honor.
Yeah, but
Yes. Oh, I think he's just
Oh, no.
approaching the
That's
witness.
just the witness.
Yes.
That's okay.
I was ready to do.
May I approach the witness?
Yes.
Ma'am, my name is Robert Mauer. I'm going to ask you some questions, and if my questions are confusing, which they sometimes tend to be, or I speak too quickly, let me know. I'll try to slow down and maybe rephrase. Okay.
Okay.
So, did you meet with a Detective Strobel? Do you recall meeting with a detective? Did you ever do that?
I do not recall.
Okay. Did you write out a statement?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Would you take a look at this? Let us know if that's your statement.
Yes, it is.
Okay. And would you read that? Don't read it out loud. Just read it to yourself.
Okay. Yes.
Okay. Is that the sum total or the summary of what your daughter told you happened?
Yes.
Okay, you didn't leave any parts out.
That is the summary, so the short version of what happened.
Okay. Well, in the summary, the state just asked you a question about an incident that may have happened before that, right? About a
Yes.
locked door. You're saying you have no recollection of that incident ever taking place.
I do not.
Okay. You never went to your daughter's door, found it was locked, and then Jeremy walks out and you talk to him about what he's doing behind that locked door with your daughter? That ever happened?
I don't recall
Okay.
anything like that ever happening.
Well, as a mom, if your boyfriend who's lived in the house for a month had done that, you probably would have freaked out, right? If your
Yeah.
daughter was behind the door, locked door with your boyfriend.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, you probably would have called the police or kicked his ass or done something else, right? It would have caused a lot of suspicions, right?
Yes.
Okay. But so there's no incident like that you recall that would have flagged your memory or caused alarm, right?
Right.
Okay. So the night in question, you had been at work, correct? Is that correct? Had you been at work and then gone out with your friends, or was it a night off?
I think it was a night off
Okay,
because I remember being at the house before we went out. And normally if I work, I'll just go straight from work and go out with my friends.
okay. So you get these text messages from your daughter and you rush home, right?
Yes.
She tells you about what happened, correct?
Yes.
And who was standing there with you when she had this conversation? Were you by yourself? Was your mom there? Your sister, anybody else?
No, it was just me and her and my son.
Okay, so your son was present for the conversation about what your daughter said happened, correct?
Yes.
And did your daughter tell you that she had told Elijah what had happened to her when she was in there and he was in the room with her?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, and do you recall when the police came to your house that night, patrolman took a statement from you and your daughter standing on your front steps, correct?
Yes.
And there was a civilian ride along, and I think your mom was present as well, correct?
Yes.
And do you recall telling the patrolman that your son was there, but he did not know anything about it? Do you recall making that statement to the police?
Maybe,
Okay,
I don't, it's a little fuzzy.
okay, if I told you you did, I mean, if you can't remember that, but I will tell you that in fact, that's what you told him, that your son did not know anything about it and they didn't need to talk to him, right?
Right.
So nobody talked to your son that night about what happened, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then at some point in time, you met or had a conversation with a detective Stokel. You remember talking to a detective, an SAPD detective from the Special Victims Unit?
Yes, I don't remember the name though.
Okay, and did he ask you if he could interview your son about the allegations?
I don't think so. Because if he would have, I would have told him yes.
Okay, so if he testified that you wouldn't let him talk to your son, is he mistaken or is he being untruthful?
Mistaken.
Because let's back up to the night in question. You come home, you're sitting there with your daughter and your son.
Mm.
Were you sitting on the couch? What were you doing?
I was standing in the bedroom upstairs with my daughter and my son.
Okay. As your daughter is narrating the events to you, Elijah is sitting there, correct?
Yes, he was in the room.
Did you turn to Elijah and say, hey, Elijah, what did you see? What do you remember about what happened?
I did not. I reacted to what my daughter told me and immediately wanted to get Jeremy out of the house.
Okay. So, in fact, at the time you told the patrolman that he couldn't talk to your son because he didn't know anything, you were aware, in fact, that he did know something because y'all had just had a conversation about the incident, right?
Yes,
Okay. And if your daughter testified that at the time this incident, right when she called you or texted you, that she had told your brother about it, or told her brother about it, would she be mistaken?
no, I think maybe it's getting a little mixed up as to whether he knew about it or whether he witnessed something. He definitely heard what was going on, but
Okay.
did not witness what happened.
How do you know he heard what was going on?
Because he was standing in the room when my daughter told me.
Okay, so he was aware of what your daughter was saying at the time, right?
Yes,
Did you ever ask him, hey, Elijah, what did you see? What did you hear?
no,
Okay, so why would you?
not until after the cops left and stuff like that.
Okay, so what did he tell you after the cops left?
He just told me that, he didn't really know what happened, that Angelina was just really upset and, he went into the bedroom with her and closed and locked the door because she was saying that she was scared and she was crying.
Okay, okay, so at the time you told the patrolman that your son didn't know anything, you didn't know, in fact, whether he did or not, right? You didn't know, I mean, you didn't ask him if he'd witnessed anything at the time the patrolman was there, right?
Right,
And you're saying sometime afterwards, you had a conversation with him about what happened.
yes.
And did he talk about, her leaving the room and then going upstairs or anything, or going to play a game, anything like that?
No, he mentioned that he was going in and out of the room. Like he had went to the kitchen for a snack at some point. He had went up to his bedroom to find his tablet.
Let me ask you a question. Did you, after you had this conversation with your son, did you then call the detective or tell anybody about this conversation with your son?
No, I don't think so.
And
I believe when I did go to Child Safe, I had mentioned that my son was present. And nobody ever asked me to talk to him or to get his side of the story or anything like that.
well, you would agree there's nothing in the statement you wrote out that even mentions your son, right?
Right,
And there's nothing in the report mentioning your son, except for the fact that you said he didn't know anything, right?
yes, I believe so.
So you're saying, so when you had this conversation with your son, was it the same night after the police left? Was it the next day? When did you have this conversation?
It was definitely that night.
Okay, and so did you then, so usually when a patrolman comes to your house, he'll give you a card with a case number on it, right? His phone number's on it.
Right,
And there may have been a phone number for, I think there was a night detective who was assigned as well. You had contact numbers for people that you could have called, right?
yes.
Okay. Did you ever call anybody and say, hey, I talked to my son and he said, and this is what he told me about what happened?
Not specifically for that reason, but
Okay.
I had contacted, or I had definitely mentioned that my son was there several times
To who?
to, you know, people at Child Safe, the cop that came to the scene knew that my son was there.
Yeah, so let's go back to what your daughter told you, because what she told the police and Child Safe was that her brother was in the room when this happened, right?
Yes,
Okay. And I know that she's now saying going in or out, but her answer, the original answer was at the time this incident happened, that he was in the room with her,
yes,
okay? So the night in question, nobody questioned your son about your daughter getting up and rushing out of the room or anything else like that, right?
right,
And you didn't question him about her, you know, wanting to get out of the room or anything else like that either, correct?
not till afterwards.
Okay. And when you went down with your daughter to Child Safe, you're saying that you mentioned your son being there, right? Being in the room,
Yes,
but they knew that already because it's in the offense report,
right.
right? And it's also on the body camera footage, right?
Mhm.
And you're saying that nobody, either the detective or forensic interviewer or anybody ever after that ever asked to talk to your son about what happened, correct?
No, not until yesterday when these ladies asked to talk to him on a Zoom meeting.
And did they in fact talk to him?
Yes, they did.
Judge, we approached.
Yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you an early lunch break, and it's gonna be a slightly long lunch break. Because as I told you before, I do have another docket, another matters to take up off of the docket. But this will give you a chance to enjoy the weather outside. I don't even know if it's still raining. We don't have any windows in the courtroom. But we're gonna come back at 2:30. And my understanding, I think the state will be finished with their case in chief today, okay? So remember, you've heard some testimony. You're not allowed to discuss any of the testimony you heard, any of the exhibits or evidence amongst yourself or with anyone else. I don't expect there to be any media attention to this case, but if you see anything, just turn it off. And you keep your badges on, even though you're outside, so that people know you're a juror, so they won't discuss anything. Because believe it or not, sometimes defense attorneys and state attorneys don't remember the faces of the jurors, so it helps when they can see your badges, okay? All right, everyone, please rise with the jurors. All right, and if you can be back here, have your witness back here at 2:15, please. All right, thank you. And you can step down.